You are listening to Gameday Tarps podcast with Riley, Dakota, and Dallas.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Gameday Tarps. We only got two of us here today. It's been Mario Cup special as the round robin is officially done, and we're going to be talking about each game, going through every single game. It's been an incredible tournament so far, incredible turnout in Saginaw. So we're just going to go right off the hop, talk about each game from each team. So let's get right into this. So we're starting off with the opener between Saginaw and Moose Jaw. Saginaw dominates Moose Jaw in a 5-4 victory, and Moose Jaw showed up for the second half, and who knows what would have happened if Moose Jaw showed up for the full 60 minutes, but yeah, it was still a close game nonetheless, and Moose Jaw scored 3 goals in a matter of like 2 minutes to make it a game, but Saginaw played a full 60 minutes, and Saginaw definitely deserved to win there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, well, for me, I'm obviously from the West, so cheering for Moose Jaw. I love Denton Matejchuk. Love the player that he's becoming. I think Columbus has one of the best young D prospects in the NHL that wasn't like a top 3 pick. And I think he's fantastic. So for them to really be able to push through as we'll continue on here and get to how they are turning out later in the tournament. But tough first game. They weren't ready, boots on the ground. I think that they had the longest travel. That could be why, but no excuse when you are in a short tournament.
It's a really tough tournament. It's basically you got to have a good mentality going out to it because, you know, these wins are crucial, especially since you have only 3 games to do it. And Saginaw started off strong. But let's talk about the player of the game brought to the Mario Cup. I don't know who decides it. I'm sure it's based off of the CHL league itself. But Zane Perek, with the player of the game, he's been playing awesome this Mario Cup tournament. Like, We'll see where he goes in the NHL draft. He's going to be someone to watch for this Mario Cup tournament here on out. And I think Zane Perek's an incredible player, and he really helped Saginaw in their first win.
Yeah, and is he still leading the tournament in points?
I'm pretty sure he is.
I think so. At least as of 2 days ago, he was. It could have changed with today's game. You never know, but as far as I knew, he was.
Yeah, and he's been playing incredible. And again, and I said in my, previews of each team that Saginaw's pieces are going to have to step up because these are tough teams. And they lost in the Western Conference Finals. They didn't win the finals. So even though they were the only team to beat London, you got championships from other leagues. And the thing is that you got to learn their style, and that's what's the hardest part. You have to learn, and you have to learn with a few days. And, Saginaw did a good job of that. Like QMJHL and WHL are both different leagues. So Saginaw had to learn that. That's the toughest challenge when it comes to facing teams in that league. But nonetheless, I think Saginaw played a pretty good game. Moose Jaw, who knows? Who knows what would have happened? But Moose Jaw definitely played better here on out after this game.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get right into the next game. London Knights versus Drummondville. And a 4-0 victory, a dominant statement from London. And again, it absolutely shows how wagon this London Knights team is. I think everyone knows how wagon this London Knights team is. Their depth is unbelievable. Gazizov getting 2 of their goals, which he did not get the player of the game. It was Oliver Bonk. Oliver Bonk also a key player to watch as he is a Philadelphia Flyers prospect, but I think he brings a lot to the table to this London Knights team.
I think Bonk might have a chip on his shoulder too because he had that own goal for Canada, didn't he? Or the puck went off him for Team Canada that cost them. So, a lot of these guys who play in the Memorial Cup that also played in the World Juniors, like they've won a big tournament already that year. But for him, he lost it, and for him personally, in like the worst fashion possible. So I can see him being so driven at this tournament, wanting to tell these guys like, hey, like this opportunity only comes around once, and when it's gone, it's gone. So let's go for it here. And it seems like London is playing with that fire of we're not even going to take one shift off, everyone's just going to give it 110%. And that it's obviously working for them.
Yeah, and it was a huge bounce back from Bonk this season after the World Juniors. He just started going on a tear. They call him Bump a Bonk, and they always have a set play for him. And most of the time, it works. It works very well in the playoffs. Works very well. It works very well, and obviously that's their key on the power play. I'm sure Saginaw already knows that, but the other teams don't. And it was a nice shot from Bonk. Halton also getting a goal in that game with a tip in, and Halty's been incredible, which we'll talk about later in the later games because he's been absolutely phenomenal too. So obviously it's very, very big. And also Michael Simpson, who's not even drafted, who got a shutout in that game, first since Jordan Binnington in 2011. Let's talk about Simpson. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was calm and collected, made incredible saves. Man, was he ever stellar.
And this is his second tournament in a row, right? Because he was on Peterborough last year, if I'm not mistaken. So he brings a level of experience that you just can't replicate. And you know what? He was on the Peterborough team that started off losing 10-2 versus the Kamloops Blazers, our hometown team here in Kamloops, and then turned around and had an unreal performance in the do or die game to eliminate Kamloops and let Peterborough go on. Unfortunately, they did lose. I mean, both Seattle and Quebec were just unreal teams. It was almost impossible to beat them last year. But Peterborough, who comes back after losing 10-2 and has a good enough tournament where they can go to a semifinal from that, right? So I think Simpson, he's leaning on that experience. He's showing these guys that, you're never too low. You can always come back. All the cliches you want to say. But as a goaltender, having a goaltender that's been there, that might be bigger than any. Like, you can have a star center that's been there, a top defenseman that's been there. But if you have a goaltender that's been to the Memorial Cup and played in the Memorial Cup, he has so much less pressure on his shoulders compared to one of these goalies that have never been there. So I think it's just a perfect situation for him in London.
Yeah, for sure. And before we get into the next game, let's talk about Ruslan Gazizov, who's also undrafted, where scouts have been noticing his game. I remember I heard something from a Knights fan that when they played the Sioux, Ruslan had 4 goals, and there were scouts in the stands, and they just had a shocked look on their face. They had a look on their face. I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but after the 4th goal, they left. So I think Gazizov is making a very good impression on scouts, especially in this tournament.
I would think so. I mean, if you're like, it's the CHL, so there's give and take. Sometimes you have a 16-year-old netminder in net, and sometimes you have a 15-year-old netminder in net. And it can be a little bit here or there when it comes to stat totals and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if you can score 4 goals in a game, it means a few things. It means that you have great on-ice awareness. You have great positioning. You're usually getting yourself in a position that no matter how the play turns out, you're in a scoring position or a position to support your team on a scoring play. So those tendencies start to show through. And I think for him, yes, he's not drafted, but some guys take a year extra before the game comes together. And for him, it seems to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that just shows how great London's depth is in this tournament, and it's very hard to stop. And let's get right into this next game. Drummondville versus Saginaw. Another close game. Looked like it was going to go to overtime, but 4-2-3. Pretty sure Hunter Haight was the MVP of this game. I'm pretty sure, with 2 goals. Michael Misa also had and Michael Misa had an incredible performance. He had a few points in that game too. And Michael Misa, we talked about him in the last episode that he was overwhelming, but he's really showing out to be that player in this tournament.
Yeah, he has. And I think that I know, was it you messaged our group chat and you said, I think Misa heard us on our pod because we were calling him out, and here he is showing up and being one of the better players in the tournament right now. So absolutely, I think that he's, for a guy who was basically like a top 3 draft pick lock to falling as far as he has, or well, I guess he wasn't that high, but he was in the first round for sure as a lock, and I know his stock fell his draft years. So we'll have to see how he turns out. But this is a good stepping stone for a player who kind of had some adversity after being very highly touted as a 15, 16-year-old.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm also gonna give a huge props to Drummondville, because it's like, you come from a 4-0 loss, and obviously some players might take it to heart, and then a downfall just happens. But they got to close with a really good Saginaw team, so to bounce back, even though it was a loss, still props for Drummondville to keep their head held high and making it a game.
Absolutely. Like, again, these are kids. This is a tournament, and it's so hard because right away, like you said, right out of the gates, their first game, they get embarrassed, 4-0 shutout, not what you want. And then the next game, they battle so hard, and then they lose, just like right near the end, and it's so tough for these kids to try and overcome those moments, but they continued to battle.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what's so great about this tournament. Anything can happen. Like, one upset could happen, and that's what's so great about it. And then that's just the whole part of the tournament. And like I said, like, big things will happen if you keep that mentality straight. So off to the next game now. We have London versus Moose Jaw, which was a very close game. Moose Jaw came out flying. This was the Moose Jaw that I was waiting to see. And they almost beat London, almost. But London still prevailed. Simpson with the save of the year in this game. He got it with the shaft of his stick. Like, I don't think there is a better CHL save I've ever seen than that this year.
I mean, yeah, again, it just comes down to Simpson and London's ability to know the highs and lows, and getting behind and then just staying calm, cool, and collected. And all it takes is one big play to really change the tide. And Simpson's save was unbelievable, just like you said.
Yeah, and key players of this game for London, Sam O'Reilly and Sam Dickinson, both NHL prospects. Sam O'Reilly getting on the board with a nasty goal, and then Dickinson scoring 2. Those two are the key players to watch. I think Sam O'Reilly is having a really good tournament so far, and Sam O'Reilly's stock has definitely rose for sure. He had a slump in the regular season, but he has picked it up in the playoffs, and he's picked it up in the Memorial Cup. And I think scouts are really going to notice that.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, again, we're talking about regular season, because here's the thing: like, even when you get to the NHL, you get paid for the regular season, right? Austin Matthews, 69 goals. Mitch Marner, everything he does. Whatever team you're looking at, right? McDavid, over 150 points. Like, these guys get paid for what they do. But there are some guys that you need that are just playoff performers. We're talking Justin Williams type players, right? Mr. Game 7. Those are the kind of guys that you need. And they're they're NHL third liners, second liners. They're never the first line guys, but they are arguably the most important players. And Sam O'Reilly really kind of fits that prospect mold. And then Sam Dickinson, he is a fantastic NHL prospect to be top 10 pick for sure. He could go as high as 3rd. He could go as low as 10th. It just depends on team fit, I think, whoever wants to take him. There's no way he falls outside the top 10, in my opinion. And he's going to be one of those guys that anchors your blue line on your top pair for years to come, whoever gets him.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what led Moose Jaw in Drummondville to be 0-2 for a do or die game. And Moose Jaw wins that game, and man, oh man, it was ever close. But Recipic, or Rizpic, or however you say his last name, scored a game winner.
I don't even know how to say it, yeah.
That's his second WHL goal in the WHL. That was his second WHL goal. To score a incredible moment like that, that's something the kid will never forget.
Absolutely. And like you said, this do or die game, that's like the worst game of the tournament, because it's such a fun tournament and these guys, but that someone's going home. That's it. That's the end of their year. And, it was honest. It could be considered one of the games of the tournament because both teams are battling so hard to try and get that win. And it was a little bit open every now and then. It was shut down every now and then, right? Goalies were playing their hearts out. Like, in terms of the quality of the game, it could have been one of the games of the tournament for sure. Heart goes out to Drummondville. As a Tampa fan, Ethan Gauthier, he had a fantastic playoffs. Not such a good Memorial Cup. It just sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. Teams really focused in on him. I think he got really eliminated from any offensive opportunities, and that obviously led to why Drummondville was eliminated. But Moose Jaw, to me, here's my thought. Moose Jaw is a team that can still win this tournament because when they click and their offense gets going, like Jagger, Fergus, Denton Matejchuk, as we said, like when those guys actually start putting the puck in the back of the net the way they were in the WHL, this team can rival the best teams in the CHL.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Matejchuk is a good leader. I mean, he's led this Moose Jaw Warrior team so well, and he had a huge night against London to open the scoring. That was probably the fastest shot I've seen in the tournament so far. And such a great leader. So many good guys on that team. Like, you got Savoy, you got Furcus, you got Jagger. Like, all those good guys. Like, they have a top line. I do not think they have the depth as London has, but again, I think Moose Jaw is still a really good team. Their goaltender stood out in that game. Almost 50 saves in that game alone. Like, that's how you know the goal. Like, he was so good. He was calm and collected in a do or die game. It was absolutely needed, and he was the main reason why they won the game.
Absolutely. I mean, again, like, you have to be special to get to this point of the season, right? To make it into the playoffs in your league, let alone, is one tough thing. Then to make it all the way through a grueling playoffs. Like, imagine if the NHL had another trophy after they won the Stanley Cup. Like, there was another tournament. Like, we hear when the NHL is finished, like, broken this, broken that, separated shoulder, dislocated knee, right? Like, we hear so many injuries that come out. Like, imagine if that team, let's just say Vegas last year, had to go then play another round, another tournament. Like, it would be insane. So the fact that these kids gruel through the playoffs, destroy their bodies, and then have to play another tournament this tournament is almost a negative because you just won your league a week ago. Like, look at Drummondville. They won the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League trophy, and they were the first ones eliminated from the Memorial Cup. So now the last thing that happened in your season was a total negative, right? Like, you didn't accomplish the goal that you came for. And same with whoever loses in the semifinal, and same with whoever loses the final. Like, you're no longer a champion of your league. You're the guy who lost in the Memorial Cup. Like, it can be such a negative swing after such a big win. So, yeah, it's just such an awesome tournament, but such a tough one too.
Yeah, for sure. And they have nothing to be disappointed about. It's a really hard tournament, obviously. I know the main goal is to win the Memorial Cup, but none of these teams have anything to be disappointed about. Saginaw, only team to beat London. And then WHL champions, Moose Jaw, who had an incredible run. And then Drummondville, who upsetted the first seed, Baie-Comeau, that I've been seeing on the rankings, like number one most of the year.
Yeah.
And they sweep them. Like, that's a huge accomplishment. Obviously, Drummondville had guys that went to Memorial Cup. They had three: Komarov, Huchette, and I forgot who the other one was. I can't ring the bell on his name, but they all played for Quebec. They played all four Quebec Remparts last year and won the Memorial Cup. So you would think that they would have a key impact into this tournament, but they really didn't show, which it sucks. It's a hard tournament to win, but nonetheless, they should be proud no matter the outcome it was.
I guess if you so you can add a couple players from last year's winner, which is fine, and that should help. But like we said, the goalie is the key, right? Like, the goalie experience is kind of number one. And if you do compare, like, Drummondville versus Quebec, like, I had the gift of watching Quebec win versus Seattle last year. I got to watch the final. Quebec may be the best junior hockey team I've ever seen play, that Quebec Ramparts team. They were 4 lines, forwards, 3 lines of D, and a goaltender of just will, discipline, and commitment to the style that Patrick Waugh had them playing. And I just don't know, like, if I will ever witness a better team in my life. I know that there have been better teams in the past, but this, for my viewing, has been the best team I've ever seen. And they dismantled Seattle. Like, Dylan Guenther was a non-factor, really. Like, he played well, but Dylan Guenther is an extremely good NHL player who literally just played for Team Canada at the World Championships. Last year, he was in the Memorial Cup. Like, now we're talking about a team that was able to shut him down. So Drummondville, I think, tried their best, but you can't replicate what Patrick Waugh got that team to do.
Yeah, for sure. And the team that I watched that was the best I've ever watched was definitely the 2016 London Knight team. I got the privilege to watch a lot of their games. They had 4 lines as well. Hunter did good with the team. Goaltending too. Tyler Parsons was phenomenal. Sucks that his career didn't pan out though. I was really, really hoping because he was a great goaltender. Beat Canada in the 2017 World Juniors. I was pretty upset about that, but I was kind of happy that a London Knight alumni won it. But he was a great goaltender, and Dale Hunter pulled through. And we'll talk about a whole lot more about Dale Hunter later on with this next game, which we're going to go right to right now. So there is a record that he was set to set in the Memorial Cup with his 13th Memorial Cup win, which would have been tonight, which I got the privilege to watch at Dundas Place, which we'll talk about later after this, on the atmosphere, because it's phenomenal. He was set to tie the record for most wins as a coach at a Memorial Cup tournament as an OHL coach. Ty Kilray, who has the most wins ever in the Ontario Hockey League. And Dale Hunter's coming up close to him. And again, Dale Hunter's an incredible coach. And the final score, it really did feel like it was an OHL final game, like a Memorial Cup final game. Like, it literally felt that way. Close game. Saginaw started off with, and in my opinion, Alex Christopoulos, he got the goal, and it looked like he kicked it in. I don't know if you saw the video, Riley, but
I haven't seen any highlights yet, no.
But yeah, it looked like it was kicked in, but it's whatever. You can't really do anything about it. And then London scores one right back with Zane Perret getting a 4-minute major. Kasper Halttunen with a rocket of a shot. He has been one of the biggest depth pieces, in my opinion, on this London Knights team. They're stacked when you have an NHL prospect like on the third line, and you have so many of them. Like, it's so deep that they can run this through. And Kasper scores, and Joey Willis, Nashville Predators prospect, snipes one to make it 2-1. And then Kasper Halttunen, another unbelievable play. I think the Sharks have something to be excited about with Kasper Halttunen. He feeds Barkey out front, he tips it in, scores to make it a 2-2 game. And then last minute of the game, Easton Cowan scores a clutch goal and scores the empty netter. And that's the dagger of this game. And Dale Hunter ties Kilray for the most wins at the Memorial Cup tournament as an OHL coach. But man, Kasper Halttunen, he is a joy to watch, especially on the power play too.
Yeah, absolutely. And congrats to Hunter. Obviously, he's probably the best CHL coach in history. Like, in Kamloops, we've had a couple here. Like, we've had Ken Hitchcock, we've had Don Hay. Both have won Memorial Cups. Both have been incredible coaches for the rise of what the Kamloops Blazers were. But for what Hunter has done in the OHL with the London Knights, only with the London Knights, like, Don Hay coached multiple other teams. Hitchcock went on to the NHL. But Hunter has done, mainly just the London Knights for the bulk of his career. He's done lots with Team Canada. He may just be the best junior coach that we've ever seen.
Yeah, for sure. He's had incredible runs, 2005, 2012, 2013. 2014 was not his best outing, but I wasn't really expecting anything because we had a stacked Guelph team, Valdor, And we had a stat Edmonton Oil Canes. We had Curtis Lazar in this tournament. We had Tyler Bertuzzi in this tournament. Robbie Fabry. We had Anthony Manfa. As much as I hated it as a Knights fan because we didn't. Yeah, there were so many good names. Obviously, London didn't get it done. It was really disappointing, but again, there's still stacked teams, and again, just for Hunter to have the seasons that he's been having, like, you never know what would have happened in 2020 because they had a phenomenal roster too. They were first place in the West and in the division before it got canceled.
Yep.
Dale Hunter's been a privilege to watch. I really enjoy his coaching style. He's done very well with these boys. Has developed so many pro NHLers that are stars. You could go all over with this guy, Rick Nash, Corey Perry, Patrick Kane, Mitch Marner, Max. Like, it's all over the place. That's how good this coach is. And there's so many prospects on his team, and they did a phenomenal job tonight. Got it done, and now they're off to the finals, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, man. Like, honestly, they did so good. And I just want to throw in there, like, talking about, I just randomly thought of Griffin Reinhart because you mentioned the Oil Kings. He may be the best defenseman I've ever watched in the CHL. The fact that he did not pan out as an NHL player is so crazy to me. I've never seen a more dominant, more imposing defenseman in the CHL history than Griffin Reinhart. 6'4", 6'5", 220 pounds, absolute tank. He hit everybody. He was good on his stick. He could skate well for his age group. Like, cannon of a shot. He looked 35 years old when he was 17. Like, he was an animal. And again, like, probably the best defender I've ever seen play in a Memorial Cup, in a WHL, CHL situation. I've just never seen anyone with that much domination when they won.
Yeah, he was absolutely incredible, and he was fun to watch. When I watched, he was very incredible. Probably one of the big reasons why they won in 2014. They had a really good roster too. Tristan Jarry as well. He was a really great goaltender in the CHL. Hasn't really been the best in the NHL, but he's young. Let's see how he does. Give him time, obviously. Obviously, I know a lot of people don't really like him, but again, a lot of these guys are young, and some of them will break through eventually. Like, you look at all these young guys coming up now in the NHL, like Luke Evangelista or Logan Stankoven, who had a goal in the game tonight. Same with Wyatt Johnson. He has been nuts for the Stars too. So it takes time for some of these guys to break. Even Lafreniere, he was a first overall pick, hasn't really shown that he deserved to be a first overall pick. But in these playoffs, he's been doing absolutely well for the Rangers. So it just takes time for some of these gents.
Crazy.
Yeah. It takes time for some of these gents, and we'll see what happens with the young guys. But I want to bring one more thing up before we could talk about the key players to watch for the semifinals and the finals. Some of me feels, as much as it is weird to like say this take, I feel like Abakar Kazbekov, because we know about his passing from last year. I think he is really with this London Knights team. I have a gut feeling because Gazizov has been on a tear. He's always had his celly where he points up to the sky. Like, even on the anniversary of his death when London was playing, Gazizov had a game, scored the overtime winner. Like, it's not a coincidence. Like, it just feels like Avakar Kazbekov is there with the team. I know, like, it's really hard on some of these young Jets. Like, they have it tough. Like, you know, you don't really expect that to happen. And then you got all these fan bases because a lot of fan bases hate London. They hate London, hate their fans, hate the players, hate the coach. Like, that's why they have a merch line, London versus everybody. But like, they're all young kids. Like, it's not that serious. Like, with all like the comments,
they get drafted there. They don't get to choose.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like, let the kids play hockey. And like, my thought always is, people hate success. It's the craziest thing in the world. Like, okay, I'm a Tampa fan. 2020, people were cheering for Tampa for the most part. Obviously, not so much in Canada. With it was Dallas. Who did they beat in 2020? Dallas?
Montreal.
Montreal.
I think it was Montreal.
Montreal, that's right. It was Montreal because it was in the bubble, and Montreal was randomly in the West in conference. So it was Montreal, and Canada was obviously not cheering for Tampa, but pretty much the whole US was, because it was like Canada versus US. And then 2022 came around, Tampa versus Dallas, and the whole Kucherov thing. So everyone hated Tampa. And then by the time it came back to them getting a third Cup final in 2022 versus Colorado, there was like 5% of non-Tampa fans in North America cheering for Tampa. Everyone was cheering for Colorado. They were just sick and tired of Tampa being in the finals. Everyone was looking for excuses, even that year, Kucherov cheating. So they said, right? Like, everyone hated Tampa by the third year. It happened with Pittsburgh. It happened with Chicago. It happened with LA. It's happened to every major team. That's why it happened with the Golden State Warriors in basketball. People hate to see teams dominate for years over year. They like to cheer for different teams. They like to cheer for the underdogs. And once you've been cheered for and something's too good, the non-fan bases will just pull and they'll go somewhere else.
Exactly. I've seen that too. So that's definitely why with London. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that Abakar Kazbekov point up, because I'm just like, I'm really thinking about it, because it's just like, last year I think they really wanted to win that championship for him and that drive. I was very happy that they got a patch on their jersey and had the 15 on the ice, like, to honor him. Like, he was, I was hoping to see him pan out in the leagues, but yeah, it was very tough to see that devastating loss last year. And, the storyline says it all about this London Knights team. 2021, 2022, choke in the first round to Kitchener in 7, because Knights were the second seed. They were supposed to dominate, but didn't. They had some injuries happen and stuff like that. So definitely did hurt them, but there's still no excuse when it comes to the playoffs. And, that definitely hurt them. Had a huge drive going into 2022, 2023, try and make another run, get the hometown kid, George Diaco, and then getting Ryan Winterton and Ryan Humphrey, who have won a championship. Thought it was pretty huge. Came up short to the Petes. And then this year was something to prove. Kasper Haltonen agreed. And then Henry Brusevich got traded to London, who has been pretty good too, like with that clutch goal in the playoffs, and won the OHL championship, broke some franchise records, and now they're off to the final. How crazy is that?
Yep. Yeah, that's the exact arc that you want to see. I say all the time, like, the CHL is a 3-year window, right? You start with a group of kids that are 16, and then you change that group when they're 17 to be a little bit more competitive. And then when they're 18, you get them to where they're like, okay, this team has a chance, right? And then you get them to 19, and you're basically like, let's go. Like, the kids are drafted, they're NHL prospects, they've been to NHL camps now, and it's time. So now you add the pieces that you're talking about. You make extra trades. You trade away some guys that maybe aren't meant to be on that team. And you give up the draft picks that you were holding on to and using the last couple of years, and you trade the prospects away. And then now you have your team, and you bet on them, and here they are.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to talk about the key players to watch for the semifinals and the finals. So we're going to start off with the semifinals. So we're going to start with the team Moose Jaw Warriors. And my pick for that, it's got to be Machachuk again. Like, I think Denton Machachuk is going to be that key player to watch. He's the one who's been leading this group. And I think if he does a very good job here, that they could upset Saginaw. Again, it's going to be a close game no matter what. I think it's going to go into overtime. It just has that feel to it. For me, I think that just has that feel to it, but I think Matejchuk is going to be that guy. That's going to be the player to watch for that game.
I think for me, it's Jagger Furcus. We're talking about a guy who scored 61 goals in 63 games and had 126 points this year. And if you come over to the playoff stats, which I'm just loading up right now, he had 32 playoff points leading the WHL, and we just haven't seen that version of Jagger Firkus yet in this Memorial Cup. The one that earned himself an NHL contract with the Washington Capitals this year. The one that proved everyone wrong, that literally had the WHL basically every single night tweeting out Firkus Circus because he was constantly scoring every game. So to me, if this team is going to win, it falls on him putting the puck in the net, at least once a game the rest of the way, which is only two games, but he has to get on the score sheet.
Did you say that he was signed by Washington Capitals?
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure you mean Seattle Kraken.
Is that who he was drafted by?
Yes.
There was a kid. Oh, sorry, that was Prince. That was a kid in Prince George. Sorry, that earned a contract this year. I forget. I mixed him up. Him and
because I was like, wait a minute. He did get signed to Washington.
You're right. Yeah. He's drafted by Seattle, but either way, he earned the right. His draft pick. He's 61 goals, almost 130 points. Like, time to take that next step. Matt Savoy, he's another one like right behind him. I've never really been convinced that Matt Savoy has it in terms of like hockey, becoming an NHL or finding that next level of digging in. Him and Morgan Geekie kind of Connor Geekie, when they were in Wenatchee, like it was just kind of like the boys hanging out playing hockey, but it wasn't like, how are we going to win, right? Like they had a stacked team when they moved to Winnipeg to be the Winnipeg Ice. And then in Wenatchee, they had to blow it all up because it was just like, you guys aren't taking us anywhere. And then Geekie didn't end up really doing much once he got traded. And then Savoy is here. He's helped this team get here, but he needs to do more. He's a top 10 NHL draft pick. He's got to do more on this stage.
Yeah, I don't think Savoy has been very noticeable in this tournament. Matejchuk, absolutely. Firkus has been okay, but he can step it up a little bit more. And then Jager's been decent too. But again, it's all about stepping up to that next big stage. I think pressure is a big factor in this because it is a really hard tournament. Like, you think about World Juniors from this year, I think the kids had a ton of pressure. There's a lot of first years, not really any experienced guys except for Owen Beck, young team, right?
Yep.
And I don't think Letang knew what to do with this team. And a lot of people want to blame the kids, but I'm just like, don't blame them. It's a hard tournament either way. Like, shit's going to happen. Like, even if Canada does not win the gold medal game, they'll find someone to blame. Maxime Comtois was the one to blame, one of the players to get blamed. And again, it's not his fault. It's a tournament. It's just a tournament. As much as,
I think that derailed his career.
Yeah. And it takes tolls on a lot of players. They're young, and, all these comments really affect them. Like, and it sucks. And it sucks that's what the world is like. But, all I gotta say is like, they'll always find someone to blame for a loss. And it's just like, they play their hearts out. Like, it's hard to win all the time. Like, you want your team to win all the time, but you got to understand that it is hard to win, especially at big key moments like this. So it might be due to pressure for some of these kids, but like I said, like, for, Moose Jaw to get to that next level, they got to step up.
Absolutely. And, going back to, like, Comtois, like, nothing good has happened for him since that tournament. He was a guy with a ton of confidence, so much talent. I wouldn't say the hardest working guy, for sure, but he had the size and the tools to make it in the NHL. And it just seems every time he hits a wall where something doesn't go right, he gets worse, right? Like, he gets more defeated mentally. Like, he's got to be struggling because now he's fighting his way on AHL contracts this year. He didn't even get an NHL guaranteed contract. He was on an AHL contract. Like, how tough must that be? You were the captain of Team Canada. You had all the pressure in the world on you in a shootout, and then the whole nation blamed you wrongly. Like, he was 18, 17, whatever he was. Like, or well, I guess he was 19. But either way, and then he goes, he's trying to find his footing in the NHL, and I just feel like he never found that swagger and that confidence again after that moment. And that's the reality that people don't see when they're just just cheer for these kids. Like, who cares if they win or lose? It doesn't make or break anything. It's not the Olympics. They're not paid athletes. They're there out of passion and pride and to fulfill their dreams like Crosby did and stuff. And sometimes you have a team like this year where the US is just absolutely by far the best team. Like, it just happens.
Yeah, it always happens in sports, always in every tournament, and people move on from it, but it does really affect all these players mentally, that's for sure. Now, aside from that, let's get right into the finals. Not the finals, but
let's do it.
The team, the London Knights team, because that's the last. We're in Saginaw, aren't we? We did Moose Jaw.
Yes, yeah, we could jump to Saginaw for the semifinal, yeah.
Yeah, I was very confused. Okay, anyways, Saginaw. So, the key player for me to watch for this Saginaw Spirit team, I'm going to have to go with Owen Beck on this one. He was in a Memorial Cup last year, and, he took experience from that. He's had a decent tournament too. But again, I think Owen Beck's going to be that one stepping stone, and, he's been there before. He's a underrated player, in my opinion, and I think, he's been in the World Juniors before. He's had all this experience, and he was a huge piece in that Pete's run. I think he was incredible. And the Pete's were on a good tear with him. I didn't know what was going to happen because the Pete's were going off. So I was just like, are the Pete's going to try and run it back, or are they just going to trade their guys? And then once I saw Lockhart got traded to the Generals, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're definitely selling their team. And Owen Beck goes to Saginaw and all these other guys. But there's a lot of guys they can say on this Saginaw team, but I really think Owen Beck's going to be that one key to watch.
Yeah, and I think the Pete's were smart. Like, if you have a team that's going to make the playoffs, but they're not going to win the championship, and you can tell that, the draft pick stock that you are going to get over the next 3 years far outweighs losing in the second round of the playoffs and getting 6 games of ticket sales. Like, we're talking about potential top 10 picks or whatever, right? Like, guys who could really change your franchise around. So you got to move the players on. It was a smart move. It's something that the Kamloops Blazers did this year when they were okay, and then they just tanked all the way to the bottom. Unfortunately, they traded their pick away last year to Everett, who drafted the first ever defenseman to get exceptional status. And also, unfortunately, his dad was an ex-Blazer in Mickey DuPont, and his son is now an Everett Silvertip via the Kamloops Blazers. But I'll bring it back to what you were saying about Saginaw. I think I'm just going to go kind of bland here, but I think it still rides on Zane Perrick. I think that this kid drives so much of their team's offense. It's also the simple stuff. He gets the puck out of his zone with his legs. He gets the puck out of the zone with a smart first pass. He's doing things that make this team better, that are the little things, but he's also chipping in great power play situations. Fantastic at walking the blue line. Maybe, very Cale Makar, like almost maybe the best in the CHL right now at walking the blue line as a defenseman. So you have to really rely on him, I think, and he needs to continue to perform because the pressure only goes up from here.
Yeah, for sure. And Rex had a phenomenal tournament, and I think he's lived up to the expectations. He was a phenomenal defenseman, probably one of the best defensemen in the OHL. There's a couple of defensemen I could put up there. Dickinson, obviously, under Brusevich, who's not in this tournament, but Brusevich also had an incredible season this year, which led to Kitchener being a wagon team, even though they lost to the London Knights. Oh, I was so happy that I got to see the Knights win that game 4 at the odd. But again, lots of great players in the O that we'll definitely be talking about for sure on this pod, for sure. And yeah, St. Perrec's just been phenomenal. Now, back to the right track. I know where we are now. finals team that will be in the finals, London Knights, key player to watch. Now, you could say pretty much anybody on this roster. There's so many guys that have been playing so well. And I'm going to go with the Leafs draft pick, Easton Cowan. Like, sure, he just only scored in tonight's game, but let's talk about what he's been doing on the ice. He's been making plays happen. He's been offensive, defensive, making incredible smart plays and a smart hockey IQ. Will we see him with the Knights next year? I really think he might come back just for one more year, just to develop one more year, and then go to the Leafs. Because when it comes to, like, if you're not an overager, it's either you go to the NHL or you're back in the OHL. That's what makes it more tough because, obviously, who is he going to take out? That's the main question. But Cowan has been showing so much caliber that he's going to be a great prospect. No one expected him to go in the first round. I didn't even think he was going to go in the first round. But just thinking about how hard he works, and how motivated this kid is, I wasn't mad about this pick. I know a lot of Leafs fans were pretty upset about it, and thought it was a reach, but I think it was a smart pick. Like, he's looking like a smart pick now. Like, regular season MVP.
Yeah, they're not complaining
playoff
now.
MVP. And he's been being clutch in one of the toughest tournaments. Like, shows the kid that he has drive, no matter if he has haters or what the media is saying about him. He still has that drive power in him to work his butt off, especially in the playoffs. And he was a key part in the playoffs. He had 15 points in the OHL finals. Like, that's nuts.
Absolutely. And to me, I'm going to keep it what we were talking about earlier. I'm going to go with Simpson as my player, because no matter who you get, you are getting one of the teams that can turn their offense on a dime in the Moose Jaw Warriors, or you get one of the more steady offensive teams, which creates constant pressure and has the leading point getter and defenseman in the tournament in Zane Perrick and the Saginaw Spirit. So realistically, either way, these teams, like, when it's a winner take all, no holding back, some teams just hit a different stride, and Simpson is going to have to be the guy who weathers those shots from Savoy, from Jagger, from Furcus, from Matejchuk, right? He's going to be the guy that is relied on to stay cool, calm, and collected, because Moose Jaw now was one game away from elimination. So say they beat Saginaw. Now they have nothing to lose. They were going to go home. Now all of a sudden they're in the final. They're going to just give it everything they've got. And London's also going to have a little bit of an extended break. So they got to be ready for the energy that Moose Jaw is going to bring. But same thing with Saginaw. Saginaw, they just lost to London. They lost to London in the playoffs. There's a whole lot of redemption arc here that this team wants to get against London. They want to beat them. They're like, to heck with the round robin game. Okay, we had to play an extra semifinal, but let's go get them in the final. So either way, for me, Simpson is the one who's going to have to keep the puck out of the net when these teams do come with a barrage, because they will.
Yeah. So before we get into our predictions and hot takes, I want to just give a little shout out on this podcast, because I've been in this Facebook group for a long time now. It's a London Knights fan group, and they have just been incredible. I've met a ton of new people in it, and I just want to talk about it because of how hardcore these fans really are. And there's a lot of hardcore fans in every single team, but I just want to bring this up and talk about, the atmosphere of the whole group, and obviously the Jurassic Park that they have been doing at Dundas Place. I just want to talk about how hardcore these fans have been. Like, when for this whole entire playoffs, there'd be people planning to go to away games. I went to Flint, I went to Kitchener, I went to Saginaw, and I went to Oshawa with all these Knights fans, and the atmosphere is incredible. And I remember I heard at the odd 1,000 Knights fans, at least, or even more. But that's what I heard from Superfan Sav. He is the owner of the group. He has done so much for the community. He donated bears, gave free bears away for people to throw at the teddy bear toss game. So I wanted to give Sav a little bit of a shout out here. He's on the paper here in London. Incredible human being. He's talked to a couple of away fans too. Lots of respect to him from other away fans as well. And he's at the Memorial Cup right now. He's been in the whole tournament so far. A couple TSN sightings you've probably seen or on the media. But man, oh man, the atmosphere of this group is absolutely incredible. And just taking through how on a TV, at an away game, you can hear "Go Knights Go" on a TV. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. That's awesome. And I think that, like, I'm glad that you're bringing this up because if people are watching this right now and they're wondering, like, how do we get in touch with something like that? Like, you can find these groups. There are groups all over the place. There's traveling fans. There's just massive fan groups for every single CHL, NHL, whatever team you cheer for. There's a fan page, a fan base somewhere out there that you can find. And absolutely, we encourage everyone to go join some kind of a fan group. I know we're all involved. I'm on Bleacher Report a lot in the community with Tampa fans, always talking Tampa stuff. I know that Dallas is in lots of Colorado stuff. He's in Halifax stuff, Kamloops, Blazers stuff. So, we're always in different chats. Dakota's in the Flames all the time, lots of Flames chats. So, yeah, just go find a group of guys that are as passionate about the team that you're passionate about. Reach out, talk to people, get involved somehow. One of the coolest things about being a Lightning fan but not being from Tampa is that they have like the Distant Thunder that they do, and they always are showcasing fans who are like in Sweden because they had Victor Hedman, he brings a lot of fans. So there's always a group out there for people to join in. So I'm glad you brought that up. This group sounds fantastic. These parties you guys are getting together, and the watch parties, everything. Jurassic Park, as you're kind of calling them, like the Raptors do. Like, it's just awesome. You can't really replace those types of experiences that you can get in the sports world, and you guys are creating them.
Yeah, for sure. And I really wanted to shout them out because just like, I have a couple of friends in this group that I've really enjoyed making friendships with. And it's just been an incredible journey in the groups. And like we said, for any of the fans who watch the CHL or NHL, we definitely encourage joining some of those groups because you'll meet some incredible people in there. I've met a ton of incredible people, and the atmosphere that Dundas Place brings. Like, when we won that game, everyone was running around, hugging, high-fiving. It was hype. Everyone was cheering. Like, it felt like you were at the game, but you weren't at the game. You were watching it on the TV with so many fans. And it's just like, it's something that I, don't want to bring up because, like, not bring up because it's like, I want to bring this up because of how the atmosphere was and how crazy it was. And, you don't really see anything like that. Like, obviously, I haven't really heard if any other team is having these watch parties, but London has just been on a whole nother level. And that's why, like I said, that London is a hockey city. And these fans bleed hockey. So I really wanted to just touch on that and bring that up.
For sure. That's beautiful.
All right. So now we're going to our predictions. So you're going to start off with your semifinal prediction, and then I'll go with my semifinal, and then we'll just take that from there from the finals and go from there. So Moose Jaw and Saginaw, who are you going with?
You know what? I'm going to say that Moose Jaw pulls it out. I think that these guys are going to turn it up another level. I think that they're going to find that comfort zone in their second game versus Saginaw that they found in the WHL, and they're going to kind of get to their game, get back to their winning ways. And if they can just find a way to shut down, in my opinion, a little bit less deep of a team in Saginaw and just take care of Perrick and not necessarily bleed so many chances, they should be okay. I think that Saginaw will get an early one because they're the home team. It's a semifinal. Everyone's going to want them to get back to versus London. But I think as the maturity of the game goes on, I think that Moose Jaw will take over. I'm calling it a 4-2 win for Moose Jaw, with one being an empty netter. So 3-2 close game with an empty netter for the fourth for Moose Jaw.
And as much as, Saginaw dominated in tonight's game, like with a close game against London, I'm going to have to agree with you and pick Moose Jaw on this one just because of how Moose Jaw has really stepped up their game. And if the goaltender plays like he did, which I really think that he's going to, and then Matejchuk and all those guys, I think they're just going to step it up another level. It's going to be a different Moose Jaw team that Saginaw saw first off, and it's good that Moose Jaw got it off their shoulders, and I think Moose Jaw is going to win that game. Now it is the final prediction between Moose Jaw and London. I'm going to start this off, and there's no way in heck I think London's going to lose. Hunter has been to the finals 2 times before this. This is his 3rd time this is his 4th time, sorry, because 2005, 2012, 2016, and now 2024. This is his 4th time. Hunter knows what to expect. London has a few days off to work because they're not just going to go and relax. They're going to work. They're going to keep on studying Saginaw a little bit, study Moose Jaw. I guarantee you that all the players and the coach will be at that game for the semifinals to see what gets done and work and go from there. And with the experience that London has, I think London's going to pull it out. I think it will be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a shit show because Moose Jaw is a good team. But it's not going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and I'm going to say it's going to be a 5-2 victory for London.
Fair enough. And you know what? I'm going to agree with that as well. When you talk about teams that look like the team, London looks like the team. Right? We're talking about goaltending, forward depth, defensive depth. They just seem like they have it all in a row. And I almost want to call it a killer instinct. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't really like this part when they were in the OHL finals, but their 8th goal, that was a lacrosse or Michigan from behind the net, and they celebrated like it was the first goal of the game in your face. You know what? It goes against a lot of what hockey stands for, but they're killers. It's what this team does. They are just going to keep pushing and keep shoving it in your face that they're better than you, that they're going to keep outworking you, that they're going to celebrate every time they score on you because it's just going to bring down your will even more. So to me, this team is just, they're built for it, they're ready for it, and they're killers. And I think you know, I could also see it being a 5-2 game again, where it was like 3-2, and then with like 5 minutes left, the goalie gets pulled, so it goes to 4-2, and then 5-2 on some empty netters. So I think you're right. Somewhere in that, there's going to be at least 1, maybe 2 empty netters, and a couple goal spread for sure when it's all said and done.
Yeah, for sure. So that ends the Memorial Cup segment of it. Now, Riley, I'll get it back to you for the Battle of the Tarps.
Yeah, we're going to do a different style Battle of the Tarps. Usually what we do is we put everything in a randomizer. We get home jersey, away jersey, random league, whether pro or amateur. We get a random team out of that. And then we review that jersey and we put them to a battle to see which one it is. Today we're going to do it a little different. We are going to do the 4 teams from this bracket of the Memorial Cup. And we are just going to do their jerseys. We picked one that's in between the 2010 to the 2020 ranges. They're all kind of around the 2012 to 2016. So we have the Moose Jaw Warriors, London Knights, Saginaw Spirit, and the Drummondville Voltigeurs. I will put photos in this so everyone can see. Who do you want to start with? Let's give it a start here.
So let's start with the hometown team for me, the London Knights. These tarps were used for a few years, and I think it's one of the best throwback logos that the London Knights had. And I really, really loved the jersey combination with what they had, and really wish that they could put it as a reverse retro if the OHL ever did reverse retro jerseys so I could see them again. But for me, I think it's one of my favorite London Knights jerseys. Obviously, the Spider Knight's pretty good too. Like, the new Spider Knight jerseys are pretty good, but these are like one of my favorite jerseys for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, the subtle touches like the K in the helmet, the older style helmet, because this is not their newer style, which is, I know it's like their new or their current jerseys, like their very original logo, And then this one's kind of like a rendition of their second or third logo. But it is very cool. You can tell this is definitely like a knight. This is what every movie shows. This is what every photo shows of what a knight helmet looks like. I think it's classic. It's well shaped. I just like it. I think it's great. The jersey's fantastic all around. London Knights have never really, I don't think, missed on a jersey. Most of their jerseys are fantastic, and this is right up there with the best of them.
Yeah, the Knights always come out hard with their new jerseys, no matter what it is. Like, I've really liked their purple jerseys back in the 90s, dude. Like, you can't go wrong with a London Knights jersey. They had a bunch of sick tarps. Really hard to say what the best one is.
Mm-hmm. All right, I say we jump over to the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League now. Let's go to the Drummondville Voltigeurs. And this is a team that we found it extremely difficult to try and find a different jersey, but we did find one. It's their red base. It still has their, I guess, their soldier in their V as their logo. But the jersey has a sloping V at the bottom with gray and white stripes above a black base and a red of the interior with black shoulders, silver and white V on the arms. So it's at least different than their typical on-brand stuff that they've been doing. What are your thoughts on this guy?
I feel like, even though they haven't really changed the logo, it's not a bad logo. I think it's decent. But I really like how, because, they added the V style to the bottom of it. Because, the V in Voltigeur, it kind of suits well for the jersey itself.
I agree. I think that it's a neat concept. There aren't very many teams that can do a V. Look at Vegas; they just did one for their outdoor game with the golden V that they kind of had in their look. So, not very many teams with a V. But there's Victoriaville, there's Drummondville, right? Like there's not very many. So for them to take advantage of that different styling of jersey, I think was creative. I think that they kind of missed on some of the details. It looks a little clunky. It's not so streamlined and seamless, but it's a great idea, I think, for sure.
Yeah. So let's go right into the next jersey. We're going to go with Saginaw's, which Saginaw had the name on their jersey just diagonally. So just kind of bland. Saginaw has definitely had better jerseys. I think it's okay. Sometimes wording can go well with a jersey. For this jersey, I really don't know. I kind of think it's just like a little bit meh, but could be better.
Yeah, it's very New York Rangers, slanted lettering, black, red, white, right? American colors, because obviously they're down in America. It's very similar to that, but you get that in the CHL with the Tri-City Americans. Out here in the Western Hockey League, you get that with Saginaw. The red, white, and blue is very overdone in a lot of ways, and the New York Rangers, if there was a way to do it, they've done it. So all these CHL teams, they just kind of have to copy and paste when they're red, white, and blue. Because what else do you do? The Rangers have been around for over 100 years, right? So it's like they've done every jersey style you can think of, and this is what they have to copy. But I don't mind it. I always like lettering. I think it's fun to switch it up. It's very collegiate. I love collegiate lettering. I think that's cool. I think that, just having the city name instead of usually just the team name, the character name, and the logo on it, I think that's neat. Really I feel like those jerseys make people feel like they're a part of the team a little bit more because they're actually Saginaw. It's London, it's Kamloops, right? All these teams that do this, it brings in the community to be like, that's actually our city on there, not just our team. So I think it pulls in a special crowd of people that really appreciate the town name being on there because the town was there before the team. That's the way it always is. So it's cool to see when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, I can agree on that.
All right, let's wrap it up in the West here with the Moose Jaw Warriors. Honestly, obviously with all the indigenous stuff that had happened over the last couple of years, with pretty much every team stemming all the way from the Washington Redskins changing to the Washington football team originally, now the Commanders, and there was the Atlanta Braves changing to the Atlanta Guardians. The Moose Jaw Warriors did change their traditional Indigenous headdress logo to the fighter jet that you see now. But we're going to review the one that was the traditional headdress, because I think I love this jersey with the Warriors wording underneath the logo. I never thought it was a bad logo. Like, maybe I guess the one thing you can knock on it is that the face, they still did red instead of maybe more of a human skin tone for an Indigenous person. They kept it red, so maybe that was a bit of a slight there that they should have fixed. But other than that, I thought that the headdress was cool. I thought that their jerseys were always sleek. They always added great accents in. And I've always been a fan of the Moose Jaw Warriors, even their newer additions, but going back.
Yeah, the throwback logo was pretty sick. I liked it too when I saw that logo. Obviously, I agree on the red part on the face. I think that could have been changed, but other than that, I think it was a pretty sick jersey.
Yeah, I like it. So who's your winner? Who you got? I mean, I think I know who yours is just based on hometown and everything, but who's your favorite?
Even though that I really do agree that London is the clear winner here. I feel like they have some of the best, they're definitely in the top there for the best CHL jerseys. You could argue a lot of different jerseys, like Kelowna Rockets have had some sick tarps, Blazers, of course, also. There's a lot that you could argue, but I think the Knights are definitely in the top 10 for sure for best CHL jerseys.
Definitely. I am actually going to go with Moose Jaw on this. I have genuinely, just being a WHL fan more than anything else, have really liked Moose Jaw's jerseys for a long time. The picture I have here is of Braden Point, which is Tampa Bay Lightning, so obviously that maybe is a little bit biased as well, but I'm going to pick those jerseys. Those are the ones that ring true the most for me. Well, all right, man. What do you say? I think that's a pretty good Memorial Cup special that we just put together definitely. There. I think we'll wrap her up, eh? Well, let's do it.
Sir.
So thanks to everyone for watching our Memorial Cup special. If you go watch episode 31, you will see that we introduced Wilbs and another member, Dayton Camo, to our Gameday Tarps team officially. So go follow Wilbs at Wilbs Puck on TikTok. You can see tons of content from him. He's making content for us as well at Gameday Tarps on all social media. So go give us a follow, go give him a follow, and go give Dayton a follow at Blue Nose Hockey. We'll be putting all those up so you can see each handle. And other than that, thanks for watching our Memorial Cup special. We're looking forward to the final and seeing if our predictions are correct. Have a great night.